What's going on, everyone? So this whole Kawhi, Steve Ballmer, Clippers investigation just keeps getting worse and worse for the Clippers. So since the most recent news, when the story originally broke, it has been revealed that there was another $20 million that was given to Kawhi Leonard. So now it appears that there is as much as $48 million, which makes Steve Ballmer look even worse because his original investment was around $50 million. And it's like the money nearly matches, right? So again, you keep going down this rabbit hole, and it's like it just keeps making the Clippers worse and worse. Now, obviously, Steve Ballmer, he recently spoke with Ramona Shelburne, and he denies everything. He says, we pride ourselves in, doing things by the book, right? Like he doesn't have a history of doing anything shady, but he's going on the, I don't know anything. I was completely clueless, got scammed. I'm embarrassed. It's foolish, right? Like I had a team look at this rather than looking at it myself, but you invested $50 million. And I understand like context matters, right? $50 million for Steve Ballmer is not $50 million for even like an NBA player or anything like that. Like $50 million for Steve Ballmer is like you investing and losing, $50. It's like it sucks, but it's not like it's not like you don't even really notice it in the long run, right? Like, and so Steve Ballmer's kind of playing that whole like, look, I got scammed like everyone else. How do you want me to explain how this played out when they scamming people, and because they scam people, like they might have worked whatever. All we did was introduce Kawhi to them, and then just said, hey, you guys take it over. And we did everything within the rules and parameters of the league. We didn't go do any backdoor deals. We didn't do anything wrong, which again, it's not the best defense, right? It is very possible that he is just clueless in it all and just got taken advantage of. I mean, we've seen other smart people. We've seen because like people's arguments like, oh, you're a multi-billionaire. Yeah, but also he has so much money. He probably doesn't even really care. And he's probably getting so many various deals, probably getting so many, like there's so much going on probably in his world that most of us will never be able to understand, right? Like that. He has teams, he has things like that, right? Like we've seen, Bernie Madoff, right? Like millionaires, billionaires, like scammed and conned all of them, right? Like there's been history of billionaires and millionaires and stuff like that. It's not as uncommon, right? And again, these guys like Steve Ballmer, 50 million to him is just like, yeah, sure. It's like, yeah, all right. Like, does it look good? Yeah. All right. Here, give it to him. So, again, I don't know. It could be, maybe he really is oblivious. Maybe he really was and just got conned, and this is just a whole misunderstanding and he's just kind of been thrusted into it. I think Mark Cuban made a good argument, right? So Mark Cuban, obviously he, challenged and said, I'm Steve Ballmer. I don't think Steve Ballmer did it. Guy that broke it was like, hey, come on my channel, right? And Mark Cuban essentially, he did a whole talk, did a whole thing, but he said, and he made a good point of like, I like the fact that Uncle Dennis is the one that kind of was involved, like he doesn't believe, and I'm paraphrasing, but doesn't believe that Steve Ballmer, I think he thinks that kind of exonerates Steve Ballmer even further, because he looks at it as like, why let this be public information? Why allow this to get out if you're doing shady deals, right? So Mark Cuban's whole kind of argument for Steve Ballmer is like that he believes Steve Ballmer was kind of oblivious, kind of did get conned, and that he'd essentially be a total idiot if he didn't cover his tracks, that Steve Ballmer didn't know about the Kawhi thing, that he was completely in the dark with the Kawhi thing. Because if his thing was like, if they're filing bankruptcy and you did this sort of backdoor deal with Kawhi Leonard, why wouldn't you get that off the books and cover your tracks? Why wouldn't you, like if you were knowingly involved, right? Why wouldn't you just pay the 48 million? Well, you already got, so it'd be 28 million. Why not just pay the 28 million, get that completely like paper where everything just kind of destroyed, or either fund the money so the company doesn't have to close for bankruptcy, because Steve Ballmer has the money. He could have easily thrown in another 50 million or whatever, had that company stay afloat long enough for him to kind of, cover his tracks. And then if the company tanks, then the company tanks. Or like Mark Cuban said, you just go to Uncle Dennis and you just go, hey, forget aspiration ever happened. Forget that any of that stuff that you guys even, worked out a deal. Here's $30 million just to make this all go away. And yes, you lost a $50 million investment. You lost $30 million, but you're already down the rabbit hole. You're already, you're already in trouble. So you might as well do what you can to basically separate yourself as far from it. So it's never even on the book. Like, hey, I got into this and I got scammed. It is what it is. And now there's no proof. There's no nothing. Well, right now, more and more information keeps coming out, and more information is pointing to the Clippers did something nefarious, right? That Steve Ballmer did something he wasn't supposed to, that he did a naughty, right? And it doesn't look good. Even if he didn't, even if he is 100% correct and he's just completely oblivious to the whole thing and just got duped, and it's like, oh, woe is me. Like, yes, like that could be a possibility, but it doesn't look good. And that's kind of what Mark Cuban is alluding, or not alluding to. That's basically what he said, is that Steve Ballmer isn't a total idiot, right? Yeah, he might have gotten conned, he might have gotten bamboozled here, but he's smart enough, or he has people around him that are smart enough to know, hey, we need, hey, dude, you're going to have to pony up another like $50 million, and we're going to have to clean this up. We're going to have to clear this out. We're going to have to make sure that you have no attachment, no involvement into this outside of that. Kawhi Leonard did this deal. That's going to look terrible. You could lose the Clippers. You could, you're going to get fined. You're going to do, it could get very bad for you, right? Either Steve Ballmer would have acknowledged that, understood that, and made that attempt, or somebody in his circle that are responsible for this stuff are like, hey, time out. His attorneys, whatever. They're like, hey, listen, we gotta get out of this type thing, and kind of exonerate him to where he's not in this. So basically, Mark Cuban is saying that, the reason what Steve Ballmer is saying about how he's clueless and look, I didn't know anything about it, that has to be true, or he's just a total idiot. Like he's a complete, just like, didn't think this through at all, and just like doing deals which, again, he doesn't have a history of. Like he's made billions. You get the right opportunity. There's plenty of people that you're like, that guy's worth $100 million, or that guy's a billionaire or whatever. So, but it is kind of interesting. And it is, again, it's just like every day there's just new stuff that's just getting unpiled that you just kind of look at and go like, again, this doesn't look good. Oh, here's another thing that doesn't look good. And then Steve Ballmer goes on and does a whole interview trying to, and he's, like he's saying, like, we have the proof, like, look, the Kawhi situation, we signed Kawhi before he was ever introduced to us. So it wasn't like he signed with us, but that that only covers the 2019 thing, right? And that doesn't mean that you didn't do other stuff, right? Like, that's the problem, is that this incident now raises questions and makes it, and now kind of muddies everything else. It's like there was back in 2019, there were all these reports, there was all these talk. Kawhi's headed to the Lakers. He's going to the Lakers. He's a Laker. He's always wanted to be a Laker. He wants to be a Laker. He's going to do the Lakers. He's going to choose the Lakers. And then all of a sudden, out of left field, he signs with the Clippers. And then it originally was like, oh, he wanted to play with Paul George. But it's like, okay, you could have went to the Clippers, played with Paul George, or you could have went to the Lakers and played with Anthony Davis and LeBron James. So, like, what team gives you the better chance of winning a championship? And LeBron and Anthony Davis that same year won a championship. So, like, it's just, again, you look back, and again, I'm not saying that it is. I don't know. Like, nobody knows, right? Unless that gets uncovered. But Steve Ballmer's like, hey, like, look, we signed Kawhi. We got Kawhi years before this, right? And it's like, yes, you did, but that doesn't exonerate you from feud. Like, yeah, maybe Kawhi was gonna leave unless you did this deal, right? Like, so now you're like, just because you already had Kawhi, like, it's just a lot of the arguments a lot of the things that Steve Ballmer's trying to point to and go like, oh, this is why, this is proof. Like, it's not though. Like, and look, maybe he has all the paperwork and all the trail and everything like that to he might have everything to kind of exonerate himself and just go, hey, no, here's all the proof. But the problem is that, like, again, like him going on and talking, I felt made it worse than if he just kind of left it alone and then just, here's all the proof. You're almost better off going, here's all the proof. Now, maybe he can't because the NBA is doing an investigation and all that stuff, so maybe he has to wait for all that. But the NBA is going to do their investigation. They're going to go and do their thing. And look, maybe they find nothing and this all just goes away and it's just water under the bridge at some point. But it's just like Steve Ballmer went on and just and didn't dispel anything, in my opinion. Right? It felt like he just went up there and just acted like he was, just clueless, like this buffoon. Like, all right, they're con men. Like, what do you want me to do? They were scamming people. They scammed me. I'm embarrassed. Like, it sucks. Like, but that's life, right? Like, it's just like, again, ignorance is an exoneration. Right? Like, and just because they scam people doesn't mean you weren't, like, just because you were oblivious to aspiration and their business practices doesn't mean you're oblivious to the Kawhi situation, right? Like, you can, like, both can be true. You could have still done the Kawhi thing but got bamboozled in that situation. And now you're on the hook for the Kawhi situation. It's just, again, like, even his arguments against it didn't really, I personally didn't feel like it exonerated him or made him look good. I think if anything, it just made him look worse. And in a lot of ways, raised more questions. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Obviously, an investigation is going to happen. And I get he might be looking at it as like, I have nothing to hide. Let me go talk about it. Let me go up. But it's usually why you're supposed to just stay quiet. Like the fire is already blazing. Right? Don't add more kindle to the fire, right? Like, just let the fire blaze and then let it die out, right? Don't add to it. And I feel like that's what he did. I feel like he went on and kind of further added to it. And then now you have, all these other reports and all this other stuff. I think Mark Cuban had a better argument and during his interview had a better defense for Steve Ballmer than Steve Ballmer did for Steve Ballmer. I think Steve Ballmer should have had Mark Cuban go in there and talk to Ramona Shelburne and should have had Mark Cuban, kind of do the press tour on how to, like, talk him out of it. Because I think Mark Cuban did a much better job of, like, no, like, this is foolish because of this, and this, right? Like, I just think that Mark Cuban presented better arguments to exonerate Ballmer than Ballmer did. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass a question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Else but not, we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.